The movie starts with Almut, a woman jogging along forest trails. She picks leaves and spices to take home. Once there, she gathers some eggs and cooks breakfast. She takes a sample to her husband, Tobias, for his opinion. A few years earlier, Tobias wakes up at night to find Almut in the bathroom, feeling the early pains of pregnancy. Confused but concerned, he grabs his notebook to jot down her symptoms. In the present, Almut is now a chef, running her own restaurant. While cooking, sudden pain forces her to stop. She and Tobias visit the doctor, who recommends chemotherapy to shrink an inoperable tumor. Surgery and continued treatment are needed to prevent a relapse. The doctor warns Almut that her stressful job might not be suitable during treatment. On their way home, Almut suggests adopting a dog to help their daughter cope with challenges, including possibly losing her mother. Tobias misunderstands, thinking she plans to teach their daughter a harsh lesson about loss. Almut explains she's unsure about going through chemo again, describing it as a nightmare. She values quality time over quantity and wants to explore all her options before deciding. At home, Almut receives a message from an old friend about a cooking competition. Years earlier, Tobias wakes up, dresses sharply, and heads to a job interview. He introduces himself as a data manager for Wabix and shares his excitement about growing with the company. At the hotel, his pencil breaks while filling a form. Frustrated, he heads to a store in his robe to buy a new one. While crossing the street, Tobias is hit by a car. He wakes up in a hospital hallway, confused and missing his underwear. A woman, Almut, introduces herself and admits she was the one who hit him. They laugh awkwardly and decide to get to know each other. They go to a diner, where Tobias talks about his job, and Almut shares her dream of opening a modern European restaurant. She invites him to visit, adding that his wife is welcome too, noticing his wedding ring. Back in the present, Almut and Tobias take their daughter out to eat to share important news. They explain that Almut has a stomach problem, but the moment is interrupted by a waiter trying to make their daughter laugh. Tobias loses his temper. At home, Tobias plays with their daughter while Almut watches with a mix of joy and sadness. Later, she chases them around, laughing, before tucking their daughter into bed. Privately, Almut tells Tobias he's doing a great job as a father. In their bedroom, Almut suggests they share a special, intimate goodbye before her treatment begins. They embrace, cherishing every moment. Almut also mentions she's considering auditioning for a cooking competition, but Tobias encourages her to focus on rest and treatment first. Years earlier, as Almut prepared to give birth, Tobias cared for her every craving. When the time came to go to the hospital, they found their car blocked in the parking lot. Tobias tried to get their car out of the parking spot, but as Almut's breathing grew heavier from the pain, he got desperate. He ended up pushing the cars blocking them to make space. Once they arrived at the hospital, a nurse reassured them that everything was fine, but Almut was only 2 centimeters dilated. They were told to head back home and wait. In the present, Almut asks one of her chefs about the Bocuse d'Or, the cooking competition she's interested in. The chef explains it's like the Olympics of cooking, though there isn't a big prize. They talk quietly so no one else in the restaurant hears. Almut shares her plan to compete this year, representing Great Britain, and asks the chef to join her team. The chef is surprised but agrees, even though the training will be intense. Back in the past, Tobias was at his father's house, getting a haircut to look sharp for the grand opening of a new friend's restaurant. He wore his best suit and arrived at the restaurant, but a woman at the door stopped him, asking if he had a reservation. Tobias didn't, but the woman recognized him from the car accident and told him a table was set for 2. Feeling a bit uneasy, Tobias sat down and was served fancy appetizers, which he devoured in one bite. He was amazed by the taste. When Almut came over to greet him, she asked how the food was, and he immediately told her it was fantastic. She mentioned she was sorry his wife couldn't join him, and asked if everything was okay. Tobias explained that, while they were still legally married, they were divorced in reality. This brought a smile to Almut, and they decided to spend more time together that evening. As the night went on, they shared laughs and talked about their lives. Tobias admitted he hadn't been in a relationship for a while and forgot to bring protection, but Almut teased him and pulled out her own. The next morning, Tobias woke up first. He quietly got up, gathered his things, and noticed several moving boxes around the room. Almut surprised him by asking why he was leaving. Tobias said he had to go, but she asked if they could spend the day together instead. They spent the day shopping and walking through the park, enjoying each other's company. Back at her place, Tobias opened up about his rocky marriage. Things got worse when his ex-wife took a job in Sweden, and eventually, they couldn't make it work. Almut shared her own struggles with past relationships, and then promised to make him the best scrambled eggs he'd ever had. She explained the trick was to crack eggs on a flat surface. Tobias, completely captivated, leaned in to kiss her. They ended up on the carpet, letting their feelings take over. When they said goodbye that day, it was with a tender kiss. Their meetings became more frequent. One night, after a party, Tobias told Almut he thought she was a natural with kids, even if she didn't see herself that way. She didn't fully understand what he meant, so Tobias explained he wanted to be honest now, rather than face tough conversations years later. In a moment of vulnerability, he admitted he might be falling for her. Almut froze for a moment and then said she wasn't the type to make promises about love. She suggested it might be better to say goodbye. In the present, Almut arrives home, setting her things down by the entrance. She's surprised to see a beautiful display of candles leading her to Tobias, who is waiting with a warm smile. He's made sure their daughter is asleep, creating a quiet moment just for them. Tobias brings up a bitter conversation they had on the day of Almut's diagnosis. He apologizes for not staying calm during such a terrifying time and admits he wishes he could give her a better response now. Nervously, he pulls out his notebook and tries to read a message he's written for her, but he gets too emotional. Seeing him struggle, Almut gently takes the notebook, reads his heartfelt words, and tears up. She tells him they shouldn't waste any more time. Tobias then kneels in front of her, pulls out a ring, and makes a lasting promise to her. Years earlier, after Almut had turned Tobias down, he left her apartment heartbroken. A few days later, he decided to see her again. He sneaked into her apartment by tagging along with a pizza delivery guy. Once inside, he realized he'd walked into a baby shower. Feeling awkward, he apologized for the intrusion. He explained that passing by her restaurant had made him think things through. Tobias admitted he'd been hurt by her rejection and apologized for focusing too much on an idealized future instead of appreciating her in the present. Now, in the present, Almut and Tobias are in their garden with their daughter, cutting Almut's hair. They save her locks in a keepsake box, and Tobias can't help but admire how beautiful she looks. Later, the family visits a museum, thinking about hosting their wedding there, but they leave after learning drones aren't allowed. That same day, Tobias takes Almut to the clinic to begin chemotherapy. The clinic feels cold and impersonal, but Almut faces it with courage, even though it's a reminder of what might happen if the treatment doesn't work. A few days later, Almut and Jade meet with Simon, who congratulates her on her recent success and compliments her new haircut. During the meeting, Jade notices Almut has a nosebleed. Almut hurries to the bathroom, where the bleeding is worse than she expected. She starts feeling nauseous and removes her uniform to feel more comfortable. Just as she begins to recover, Jade comes in and nervously asks if she's taking precautions. Almut chuckles and explains she has stage 3 ovarian cancer. Jade is shaken and suggests postponing the competition, but Almut insists she's ready. She puts her uniform back on with Jade's help and gets ready to compete. Later back home, Almut checks a message from Simon congratulating her and confirming the final date for the competition. She looks completely drained. She checks on her daughter, making sure she's asleep, then joins Tobias, who is looking over wedding invitations. Tobias senses something is wrong, but Almut just says she's tired. Years ago, when Almut was pregnant, Tobias used to help her bathe and deal with her cravings. Going back even further, after a period of distance, Almut's family and Tobias's father gathered at her apartment. At first, Tobias and his dad felt out of place among the lively family, but the night soon turned into a warm exchange of stories and laughter. Tobias's father, Reginald, shared how he realized he wanted to marry his wife. He said he didn't need a piece of paper or a big wedding to feel committed to her. Later, Almut had an awkward moment when her family played an old video of her figure skating in a competition. Tobias noticed she seemed uneasy, like there were still parts of her past she hadn't shared with him. Almut decided to open up about a chapter of her life she had once loved deeply. Her father had always been her biggest supporter, especially during her figure skating days. But when he got sick, everything changed. She felt lost and didn't know how to help him. Eventually, she had to step away from skating, but after being away, she found it too painful to return. Skating reminded her too much of her father, and that's why she let it go. Suddenly, Almut felt a sharp pain in her stomach that quickly became unbearable. Tobias rushed her to the hospital. The doctor suspected an infection but said more tests were needed. He prescribed painkillers in the meantime. A few days later, while jogging in the park, Almut got a call from the hospital. She told Tobias the tests didn't show an infection, but the doctors recommended a hysterectomy, a surgery to remove her uterus, because of early-stage cancer. Tobias went silent as they processed the news. The doctors explained that Almut might need chemotherapy, which would make having children difficult. The other option was surgery to remove her uterus and one ovary to save her life. Almut was scared but hoped to keep one ovary. She admitted she never saw herself as a mother before, but now the idea felt real, especially with Tobias by her side. Tobias teared up as she shared this with him. A few days later, Almut got the incredible news that she was in remission. They celebrated at home and then went to the fair, happier than ever. After that, they started trying to have a baby. It didn't happen right away, and as Almut's treatment began, it got harder. But they stayed hopeful and kept trying. One day they finally got the news they had been waiting for. Almut was pregnant. They were overjoyed. When it was time for the baby to arrive, they waited until Almut's contractions were strong enough before heading to the hospital. But they got stuck in traffic, and Tobias grew desperate as he heard Almut's labored breathing. He got out of the car to check the holdup, but quickly realized the traffic wouldn't clear anytime soon. When he got back to the car, Almut was gone. Panic set in as Tobias searched for her. He found her at a gas station, leaning against a pillar, dealing with contractions. Almut had gone inside to grab a snack. She calmly strolled through the aisles while Tobias looked like he was about to give birth himself. At the register, Almut started feeling worse and went to the bathroom. From outside, she told Tobias she felt like she needed to push. Tobias panicked and asked the attendant for the bathroom key, but the key broke in the lock. Desperate, Tobias tried kicking the door down, but it wouldn't budge. The attendant and another worker joined him, and together they managed to break the door open. Inside, they found Almut sitting on the toilet, struggling to stay conscious. She apologized, saying she couldn't hold on any longer. The baby was coming. Tobias called the doctor, who gave him instructions over the phone, and, with help from a kind woman nearby, followed the doctor's instructions to assist Almut. Despite his nerves and confusion, Tobias gave it his all. Finally, Tobias held his newborn daughter in his hands. Her cries filled the bathroom, bringing relief and joy to everyone there. Almut and Tobias couldn't hide their excitement, and even the gas station workers shared in their happiness. The doctor told Tobias and Almut that an ambulance was on its way. Until then, Tobias needed to stay calm and keep his family warm. Later, in the car, Tobias waved goodbye to the gas station workers who had helped them and embraced his little family for the first time. But the present wasn't as bright as those cherished memories. At the doctor's office, they learned the tumor hadn't shrunk, and the cancer had spread, making surgery impossible. The doctor offered other treatments and urged them not to lose hope, but the news hit hard. Tobias stayed by Almut's side, though she insisted she was fine. The doctor reminded her it was okay not to be okay after everything they'd been through. To lighten the mood, the doctor gave them some treats, bringing brief smiles. In the car, Tobias mentioned he had a meeting later and asked if Almut could pick up their daughter, Aya. She agreed. Later, Almut trained for an intense cooking competition with Jade. The stress overwhelmed her, and despite Jade suggesting a break, Almut pushed on. Eventually, she stepped outside, where chemotherapy's side effects hit her hard. Meanwhile, Aya waited in the rain with her teacher because Almut forgot to pick her up. When Almut got home, she seemed relaxed, but Tobias confronted her. He had called the restaurant, and no one knew where she was. Almut realized she had forgotten Aya and apologized repeatedly. Finally, she admitted she had been training for the competition Tobias had asked her to postpone. With tears in her eyes, she explained her need to compete. Tobias grew frustrated, asking why she prioritized cooking over her recovery and whether the hospital knew about her training. Almut said it wouldn't make much difference. Tobias, exasperated, told her to face reality and stop putting herself under so much stress. Almut, upset, explained that she knew her chances of recovery weren't high. She didn't want to die without achieving her dreams. Tobias felt hurt, thinking he and Aya weren't enough for her. Almut said she didn't want Aya to remember her only as a sick mother. She wanted Aya to grow up with strong, happy memories of her. Almut admitted she was scared of being forgotten. Their argument calmed, and they sat down to talk. Tobias said he understood her need to leave a legacy, but warned her that neither he nor Aya could cherish her memory if they didn't truly know what was going on. Almut admitted she had made mistakes. Tobias asked when the competition was, and felt crushed when he learned it was on the same day as their wedding. Heartbroken, he threw away the wedding invitations. One morning, Almut went for a run and passed a skating rink that brought back old memories. Later, at Jade's apartment, he greeted her with a fresh haircut, matching hers as a sign of support. On the day of the competition, Jade was so nervous that she threw up. In the kitchen, they worked tirelessly for 5.5 hours, surrounded by cheering crowds. With 30 seconds left, Almut got nervous, but Jade helped her finish just in time. They were thrilled. Tobias beamed with pride, and Almut felt like she had achieved something meaningful. Afterward, Almut removed her chef's hat, hugged Jade, and joined her family in the audience. Together, they went to the skating rink she had seen earlier. They spent a beautiful day together, making precious memories. Almut finally said goodbye. Sometime later, Almut was gone. Tobias and Aya adopted a dog and worked to move forward. Tobias taught Aya how to crack eggs on a flat surface, just like her mother used to. The end. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please do like and subscribe for more videos.